I'm here to read you another story. Today, the story we've got is Mog the Forgetful Cat by Judith Kerr. Now, before we start, and before you get comfy to listen, I want you to have a think. What might happen in this story? I want you to predict what's going to happen. I'll give you a few seconds. Brilliant. Get yourself comfy and I'll begin. Mog the Forgetful Cat by Judith Kerr. Once there was a cat called Mog. She lived with a family called the Thomases. Mog was nice, but not very clever. She didn't understand a lot of things. A lot of other things she forgot. She was a very forgetful cat. Sometimes she ate her supper and then forgotten she'd eaten her supper. Sometimes she thought of something in the middle of washing her leg and then she forgot to wash the rest of it. Once she forgot that cats can't fly. But most of all, she forgot her cat flap. The cat flap led from the kitchen into the garden. Mog could go out and in again. It was her own little door. Why might Mog need her own little door? Why can't she just use the human door? The normal back door? That's right, because she can't reach the handle on her own. The garden always made Mog very excited. She smelled all the smells. She chased the birds. She climbed the trees. She ran round and round with a big fluffed up tail. And then she forgot the cat flap. She forgot that she had a cat flap. She wanted to go back in the house, but she couldn't remember how. Oh, poor Mog. In the end, she sat outside the kitchen window and meowed until someone let her in. Afterwards, you could always tell where she had been sat. This made Mr. Thomas very sad. He said, "Bother that cat." But Debbie said, "She's nice." Why do you think Mr. Thomas would not be very happy? I'll give you a clue, it's in the picture. What does Mog do when she's sat there? That's right, she's flattening the roses, and I bet Mr. Thomas has taken a lot of time to grow them. Once Mog had a very bad day. Even the start of the day was bad. Mog was still asleep. Then Nicky picked her up. He hugged her and said, "Nice kitty." Mog said nothing, but she was not very happy. Why do you think Mog would not like to be picked up when she was asleep? How would you feel if someone picked you up when you were asleep? I know I wouldn't like it. I'd be very grumpy. Then it was breakfast time. Mog forgot that cats have milk for breakfast. She forgot that cats only have eggs as a treat. She ate an egg for her breakfast. Mrs. Thomas said, "Bother that cat." Debbie said, "Nicky doesn't even like eggs anyway." Mog looked through her cat flap. It was raining in the garden. Mog thought, perhaps the sun is shining in the street. When the milkman came, she ran out. The milkman shut the door. The sun was not shining in the street after all. It was raining. A big dog came down the street. Mog ran, and the dog ran too. How do you think Mog is feeling when the dog is running down the street too? Oh, I think she might be frightened. Let's read on. Mog ran right round the house and the dog ran after her. She climbed over the fence and she ran through the garden and jumped up outside the kitchen window. She meowed one big meow, very sudden and very loud. Meow! Mrs. Thomas said, "Bother that cat!" Debbie said, "It wasn't her fault." What's Mrs. Thomas done when Mog meowed very suddenly and very loud? That's right, she's dropped some food because she was so startled. Mog was very sleepy. She found a nice, warm, soft place and went to sleep. She had a lovely dream. Mog dreamed that she had wings. She could fly everywhere. She could fly faster than the birds, even quite big birds. Then suddenly she woke up. Oops. Seem to have skipped a page. No, I haven't. Mrs. Thomas said, "Bother that cat." Debbie said, "I think you look nicer without a hat." Debbie gave Mog her supper, and Mog ate it all up. Then Debbie and Nicky went to bed. Mog had a rest too, but Mr. Thomas wanted to watch the television to see the fight. Mr. Thomas said, "Bother that cat." Why do you think he's saying bother that cat? What's Mog doing? That's right. She's blocking the screen with her tail. Mr. Thomas can't see. That's why he's saying bother that cat. Poor Mog. Mog thought, nobody likes me. Then she thought, oh, Debbie likes me. Debbie's door was open. Debbie's bed was warm. Debbie's hair was soft like kitten fur. Mog forgot that Debbie was not a kitten. Debbie had a dream. It was a bad dream. It was a dream about a tiger. The tiger wanted to eat Debbie, and it was licking her hair. Oh no. think's going to happen next? Have a little predict. Let's read on, see if you're right. Debbie shouted, "Ah!" and Mog jumped. Mr. and Mrs. Thomas said, "Bother, bother, bother that cat." Debbie said nothing. She was still crying because of the bad dream. How do you think Mog is feeling at this point? Not even Debbie stuck up for her. Poor Mog. Let's carry on reading, see what happens. Mog ran out of the room and right through the house and straight out of her cat flap. She was very sad. The garden was dark. The house was dark too. Mog sat in the dark and thought dark thoughts. She thought, nobody likes me and they've all gone to bed. There's no one to let me in. And they haven't even given me my supper. Oh, poor Mog. Then she noticed something. The house was not quite dark. There was a little light moving about. She looked through the window and saw a man in the kitchen. Mog thought, perhaps that man will let me in. Perhaps he will give me my supper. Who do you think that man is? Is he part of the family? Should he be in their house? Let's carry on and find out. She meowed her biggest meow, very sudden and very, very loud. The man was surprised. He dropped his big bag and made a big noise, and everyone in the house woke up. Mr. Thomas ran down to the kitchen and shouted, "A burglar!" The burglar said, "Bother that cat!" Mrs. Thomas phoned the police. Debbie let Mog in and Nicky hugged her. A policeman came and they told him what had happened. The policeman looked at Mog. He said, "What a remarkable cat. I've seen watchdogs, but I've never heard of a watch cat. She will get a medal." Debbie said, "I think she'd rather have an egg." Why would she rather have an egg than a medal? It's because she likes to eat eggs. Mog had a medal. She also had an egg every day for breakfast. Mr. and Mrs. Thomas told all their friends about her. They said, "Mog is really remarkable." And they never, or almost never, said, "Bother that cat" again. The end. I hope you liked our story today. Maybe you can design your own medal for Mog. Or you could create your own story talking about your pet. I'd love to see them. See you next time with a new story, you